Good evening to our district officers, our esteemed speaker, and our enthusiastic Toastmasters who have joined us today from across different districts. A warm evening, afternoon, morning to all of y'all who have joined us today. Welcome to Beyond Toastmasters, Episode 7, a District 98 initiative. This was started as a platform to engage with leaders beyond the realm of Toastmasters who have excelled in their own spheres. They join us here virtually to take us on an exciting journey, sharing a slice of their wisdom every episode. You must look for value. You must look within for value, but must look beyond for perspective. This is in the words of Dennis Waitley, the best-selling author of audio series, The Psychology of Winning. I'm Area Director Vanitha, Area Director for Division W4 and your host for this evening. I would like to begin with our district mission. We build new clubs and support all clubs in achieving excellence. Before we commence with the proceedings, for the benefit of all who have joined us, this will be the format of the meeting. Our moderator will introduce our keynote speaker. For the next 35 minutes, we will enjoy a food for thought session followed by Q&A. Post Q&A, our top 7 district officer will do the felicitations and vote of thanks. We end the session at 9 p.m. India time with our best smiles captured in screenshots. Now, let's get the house in order with 3 ground rules. Rule number 1, request all guests to switch off their video once the meeting starts. Rule number 2, the chat will be disabled. However, you can send message to the host or co-host. Rule number 3, if you have any questions for our keynote speaker today, then you can send it to the moderator in private chat. With this, I'd like to welcome our moderator for today's meeting, a Toastmaster, I would say a hungry Toastmaster from Hyderabad, working for a company, Hitachi Consulting, since 3 years, and someone who loves playing with his pet dog. Please join me in welcoming Toastmaster Animesh, our moderator for today's evening. Over to you, Toastmaster Animesh.
Hello, everyone. Before we start, I want to request Vanitha to give me an acknowledgement if I'm clearly audible and visible.
Yes, you are, Toastmaster Animesh.
Thanks again. Welcome one and all from Districts 98 and beyond. Welcome to the 7th episode of Beyond Toastmaster, where we are going to talk about You Are a Product. Before we start, let me talk about our keynote speaker for the day, Toastmaster Sravanthi, DTM, an optimist, ally, analyst, coach, gardener, volunteer, writer. Well, the words do not end here. She is an incurable optimist and revels on all things and believes in the unlimited potential of optimism to alter our perceptions of ourselves in the ever-evolving world around us. She has been in many district leadership roles, currently a member of 4 clubs, and is a philanthropist at heart. Today, we are honored to have her to talk about the topic, You Are a Product. Well, we will discuss more and moderate the session going forward, but let us welcome the keynote speaker for today, Toastmaster Sravanthi. Toastmaster Sravanthi, over to you.
Thank you, and good evening, good afternoon, good morning, dear friends. Thank you, Animesh, for that wonderful introduction. I am delighted to be here, and I always say that, and people say, really? Are you always delighted? I say, absolutely, I am delighted to be here. Thank you all for joining me in You Are a Product. Are you really a product? I want this to be as interactive as possible. And KP, I see you. It's wonderful to see you here. I want you to think about product, the word product. And I hope the chat is not disabled, Animesh, because I would like for this to be as interactive as possible. Please, if you could keep it alive. Quickly, the first 3 words that come to mind when you think of the word product, I want you to put them in the chat, please. Light it up. Because I said you are a product, don't have to say self, right? Give me more. Give me just a little bit more. A beautiful package. Someone's okay. Dhoni. Okay, full package. Ah, KK. Sravanthi, thank you. Fruit, result, outcome, a commodity, a brand. What else? Sales, Nokia. Exactly, a beautiful package. And if I may share my screen. I love it. Let me pull up the chat window. I love what I am seeing here. So buy and sell, invent, cold, clinical, profit, value, money. I love it. I love the person who is thinking out of the box, cold and clinical, right? If you think about a product, that's probably what comes to mind, right? We all have, what is the P word I'm looking for? We all have a dash about a product. What is the P word I'm looking for? Perception. There you go. And if you could put it out to everyone instead of just me, that would be helpful. Perception. Here is what we are going to talk about today, that very perception. When you think of product, does it mean to you that you desire it? Is it a thing of value? Or do you think of product as something that is a result, right? It could be anywhere in between. From the thing that you desire, from it being cold or insensitive to man-made, to inventive, to creative, to a mere perception, or to the product of something. As simple as happiness times success is bliss, right? That would be a product. But the thing that I desire, it could be man-made, it could be mass-produced. It is that thing of value. Thank you, Vasanthi. I see that you just joined. This is fantastic. So I want to take you through a journey, a little bit of a roadmap into what it could mean to us, right? What it could mean to us. And I want to take you one step further to say what it should mean to us, right? It could mean a lot of things to us, but what it should mean to us ultimately determines how others perceive us, and more importantly, how we perceive ourselves, right? If I am not sold on me, I can rest assured you are not, right? We perceive ourselves as valuable first, and then we manage the perception. So let's start with self, and let's move forward. Does that sound like a good plan? Yes? All right, let's go. Thank you, Beena. I see you are here. So tell me what comes to mind when you see this? What comes to your mind? Why do you remember them? Why do you recognize them as soon as I put them up? Consistency. Thank you. They are brands, they are advertised. Each one is unique. They have their own identity, right? They are logos, they have a name, they are popular, they are global, they are billion-dollar marketing firms. Yes. I love that. Swapnil, trust. So the uniqueness, the trust, the reliability, the identity, right? They have it all. And do you think any of this is by chance? I want you to take a moment to let that sink in. Do you think any of this happened just by circumstance or a happenstance or just by chance? It is by design. So my friends, my ask of you is, if it is so by design and we know about this, about the materials that we seek, do we turn around and pay that kind of attention, take that same phenomenon and put that intentionality into building ourselves as a brand? Not necessarily, and a lot of times, the perception is that it is to monetize. And I am extremely of the opposite view. The money will come, the monetization will come at some point, but I am today going to have us focus just on ourselves, on our authentic selves. So you really don't need me because you know why you remember these brands. And I want you to close your eyes for 20 seconds and say, if you and I intellectually know that building a brand is important, are you and I intentionally spending 5 minutes of our days, just 5 minutes of our days, paying attention to ourselves? And I want you to be honest. Tell me, are you paying attention to yourself 5 minutes every day? 20 seconds. Right? And if you are paying attention, tell me why. Share with the group why. Sometimes yes and sometimes no, but although intellectually, you and I absolutely know that we must, right? We must. Is 5 minutes too much to ask? Is 15 minutes too much to ask? Is 1 hour too much to ask? The results that we get out of our investment are equally proportional, right? Are directly proportional to the investment that we put in, not just by intellectually understanding it, but actually intentionally practicing it. We understand a lot of stuff intellectually. You and I know this. Look at the chat window. It's lighting up, right? We know it. But do we intentionally practice? Do we intentionally invest? But I say you must, right? Do you agree? You must. Because we must care, and let's see why. Let's start with the very definition. I'm a student of language, so bear with me here. Bear with me here. I'll give you 10 seconds to quickly read through this. And there are some that I have highlighted in red. I want us to pay attention to those. A couple of words do jump up. In the first section, when we think of a product as a noun, right, or a brand as a noun, it's a thing or a person that is a result of an action or a process. Remember how we said happiness and success, right, is bliss? That's a product. When we use it as a verb, it is a mark or a print, indelibly. I love that word, indelibly. That means that which cannot be erased forever. So it's a process. When others are perceiving us a certain way and we are perceiving ourselves as a certain way, there is something to be done. So ultimately, we project the right image that we want others to have of us, the image that we want to have ourselves, and ultimately, whatever our definition of success is, we want to achieve that. Are you with me so far? Do you have a favorite in any of these definitions? What words jump out at you? And I also want to draw your attention to the habit or trait or a quality that causes someone public applause or public disgrace, right? And some of us might say, I don't care what people think about me. But you know what? Your success depends not on what you think about yourself alone, right? We are social animals. We live in an environment where we need that empowerment. We need encouragement. We need that energy from others. We need to get work done. We need to have productive relationships. So it behooves us to pay attention to ourselves, doesn't it? Indelibly, that really gets me. That I love that word, right? Can we change it? Absolutely. But you know, the deposits that you make in a personal brand are depleted by one bad withdrawal. Let me repeat that. Hundreds and millions of deposits we make, small deposits we make to build a good personal brand, are depleted or could be depleted by one bad withdrawal. So we must be conscious. Is anyone not sold yet that this is important? and not necessarily important in the way that billion-dollar brands are marketed to monetize, but simply so we are our best selves. That's really what I'm here to impress upon you. Because in my experience, when I look at my 25 years in the United States and another 20, 25, 26, 27 maybe, and another 22 or 23 in India, I look at all of the people that have inspired me. And a few years ago, the first time that I got introduced to this is when I stumbled upon an article by Peter Sellers. Has anyone heard of Me Inc? Me Inc? The Fast Company magazine had an article that was run. It was Me Incorporated. Peter Sellers said, and I can share a link later too. Peter Sellers said, you are the CEO of a company called you. So you are the brand manager, you are the planner, you are the implementer, you are the caretaker, and you also finally withdraw all the benefits that come from building this company, right? Imagine that. So let's look at a few things why you should care. How many of these resonate with you? How many of these dimensions do you think about every day? Does any of this jump out at you? Why should you care about your brand? Almost all of them, right? My friend KP says almost all, and then Roy says yes, all caps. Do you want people to trust you? Do you want your word and your action to be credible? Do you want to be your real self? Do you want to be relatable to others? Right? Do you want to make those connections, especially in times like this, testing unprecedented times like this? So we all owe it to one another to keep those connections alive. You cannot fake it. And in this case, you really cannot fake it and still make it. You must be authentic. How about confidence, overall confidence? And I put belief all the way at the end. Because if you don't believe, and if you don't have that belief continuing, right, there is nothing that we can do. We really can't move forward. Sometimes there is lead in our feet, right? We just cannot move forward. So we must care. And ultimately, we must care about our personal brand. Do you know why? Why do you think we must care? All of these dimensions are awesome, right? Sravanthi should care about her personal brand. Sravanthi should help others take care of their personal brand. Susan said that if we don't take care of our personal brand, right, who will? And I want to flip it just a little bit. If we don't control our brand, somebody else will. Let that sink in just for a moment. If we don't take care of our brand, somebody else will. That's where the intentionality comes in, right? So if I am not being authentic, if I don't, for those of you who attended our previous talks, and Beena is here, Beena, it's so good to see you. If you don't walk your talk, right, you lose your credibility. Yes, from my previous session, I remember, right? Beena talked about the factor. What was that, Beena? What factor did you talk about? You said I was mysterious. I remember that, right? So, X factor. No, Beena talked about a particular one. I even wrote it down. So if we don't, fascination quotient, that's what she talked about, right? So the fascination quotient, there's a lot that goes into it, right? If we don't walk the talk, if we don't bring to the table what people expect us to bring, if we don't bring to the table what we believe we can build, right? We really won't control our brand. We must show up every single time. We must be consistent. We must be polished. While I understand it's not always possible to bring our A game, it's okay. People understand we are vulnerable. We are human. But deep down, are you showcasing that core that people can count on? Think about it. Have you always lived up to what you expect of yourself and what others expect of you? That's truly where our personal brand shines, is when we learn to be authentic. We are comfortable being authentic. We know what our strengths are. We are very aware of what our opportunities may be. But I tell you, if you ask me, always your strengths will take you far farther than your opportunities will, right? Stay aware of your opportunities, put them in the corner, work on them every day, but run with your strengths. That's really what thank you, Bina, for the reminder, fascination quotient. It didn't come to me at that moment. It's with me so far? Does this resonate with you? If we don't control our brand, someone else will for us. So we must own it. We must own it. Fantastic. Okay, what is the brand's value? So some of you said cold, clinical, because we tend to think about a value of a brand as being purely monetary, right? It doesn't have to be. I want to draw your attention to a few words here. How much extra people will pay, perhaps, right? To have you as a guest speaker, or for those Nike shoes, or for the De Beers diamond, right? It doesn't matter what it is. I want to draw special attention to how often they choose the expectations, the memories, the stories, and the relationships of you over someone else. Think about that. This is the best definition I've liked over the years. So that's why I picked this. A brand's value, if you think of it as a personal, individual value, how often are they going to say, Sravanthi is the person, Lenroy is the person, Bina is the person, Cyril is that person? How often do people reach out and choose you, the expectations, the memories, the stories, and the relationships that you bring to the table? Think about it. How fascinating is that? How empowering is that? How beautiful. We want people to reach out to us. We want people to think about us in a certain way that is pure and authentic. That is beautiful and fascinating, right? We are each unique. A lot of you said a value is unique. A brand is unique. Growing up, I wanted to be everyone, from Mother Teresa to Mahatma Gandhi to Martin Luther King, and I wanted to be my English teacher. I wanted to be so many people. It took me almost 45 years to figure out that I can't be any one of them but me, right? It is silly, but true. It's almost, I think it was in 2014 when there was an opportunity at my workplace to be an ambassador for the workplace. I work for a Fortune 500 company, and they said, we need some people in IT to represent our company, to go to open houses, to speak about the company, and to tell them how much you enjoy. There was no coaching involved. They just said, if you're a person that can showcase our brand well, write an essay and show us. Can you believe it? It was then that I sat down and I said, do I really bring anything to the table? I had no idea what I brought to the table. Do you ever feel like that? Have you ever felt like that? When someone asks you, you think of the world of yourself. I thought I was God's gift to mankind, right? We all think so. And truly too. But are we able to define that? Are we truly able to put our finger on it and say, I bring A, B, and C to the table? If you do, more power to you. I want you to put it in the chat. I want you to take this moment to just reflect just a little bit. What do you bring to the table? And if you've ever noticed my name, I have 3 words by it. That's the day. That's the day. I coined those words. I always sign Sravanthi Vallampati. Engage, empathize, energize. I engage with people. I empathize with people. God knows how much I bleed. And then my positivity energizes them. I energize myself as I do other people. I want you to put your 3 words. Take a moment. Take this evening to put your 3 words in the chat window. Whatever those 3 words may be. Whatever comes to mind. Who you really are. Let's do it. Let's take 10 seconds to do that. Okay? Lenroy has the same words as me. Fantastic. Learn, earn, and grow. See, I like that. Who said that? Vanitha. Put it out there. If your talents can monetize or bring you that value, there is nothing wrong with that, right? There is nothing. And there is no shame associated with that. Some of us think that, oh, he does everything for money, she does everything for money. As long as that's not our sole purpose, there is nothing. I wouldn't be doing this if it was not, for developing my brand. It doesn't always have to be monetary, but if it is, then it is part of the curriculum. It is part of our personal brand, right? Why not? Community, volunteer, cooking, comedian, engaging, honest. I love that. If I were to pick the one secret to success, that would be honesty. Reliable, honest, commitment. And we are 55 of us. I need a few more. Actions have consequences, so it does not have to be your 3 words in nouns and verbs, right? It could be a statement. Actions have consequences. How powerful is that? And you know what? Take this out and put it by your name tonight. I challenge you. If you don't have it already, I say put it by your name tonight. And you know what? 6 months later, you might change it, but that's okay. At least you are confident. You're putting yourself out there. Right? You're doing this for a reason and you know what you stand for. 6 months later, it's okay. This is not anything set in stone. We are human, we are organic, we are evolving. Embrace that and say that's okay. Learn, unlearn, relearn. I love that. I'm only reading what's at the paid forward. Camille says paid forward, right? Carl says, I am here. How powerful is that? Carl, thank you. Carl, right? Carl, thank you for that. I want you to save this chat. It is beautiful. Do you see how? But I want you to also spend some time every single day thinking about this stuff. We are very busy people. The world demands a lot out of us, but we must demand a little bit of ourselves too, right? And unless we polish and shine and work on it every day, my friends, someone else is doing it without our knowledge. And they will carry that perception. And that will snowball, and it is surely not going to be what you want it to be, right? So I say, love it. Live with uniqueness. I love that, Shreya. Live with uniqueness. I love that. Let's look at it. There is some confusion here. What is a personal brand versus personal branding? The brand is the thing. Branding is the process. Again, I put definitions in here. While I speak, please read them. The brand is the uniform perception or impression of an individual, and I don't mean individual only to the outside, the individual to himself or herself too. Personal branding, and Lenroy, my friend, had said it. We use the word intentional so much in District 10 anymore, right? Conscious and intentional, right? Effort to create and influence public perception. And again, this is not just public perception, a perception of you for yourself too. Yeah? Wonderful, wonderful. Any questions on this particular one? Because there seems to be a lot of confusion around these 2 words. The brand is the thing. The branding is the effort or the process, right? The thing of value is always that brand. How we get to that thing of value, how we maintain that thing of value, how we safeguard, right? Close to our heart. That is the branding part of it. All right, let's get to the next elements of a personal brand. And you put your 3 words out, and that wasn't premature, that was by design. Now you think of your 3 words, right? And you rethink them just one more time. Indulge me here. A personal brand has 3 main components: a value proposition, a differentiation, and a marketability. And for those of us who are seeking careers, who want to rise, who want to serve better in the community, who want to be better parents, uncles, aunts, grandparents at home, right? That marketability is important. If someone's not coming to you for advice, if you're a mother or a grandmother, then you're not making a very compelling brand for your child to come to you, right? So I want us to think about this at home, at work, and in the community. I always say that. At home, at work, and in the community. So our brand is permeating all through these avenues. So rethink your 3 words. Are you going to still stick with those? If not, don't be shy. If not, don't be shy. Redo them, right? Think about it. All I want to leave you with is thinking about it today. If you sleep tonight, or for those of us in other parts of the world, if you're thinking about this for the rest of the day, even for a couple of seconds, and say, my friend Sravanthi said something about this morning. Maybe I should start paying attention. Mission accomplished. I will be happy. I will be thrilled for you. So are you all sticking with your 3 words? Do you like your 3 words? More power to you if you do. If not, just think about it. This is an evolution. This is an absolute evolution. And thank you for playing along. For those of you sending me private chats, thank you. All right. So, personal branding. And I could include a bunch of links. Ton of information is on the internet, right? Heart-centered presence. I love that. I had 5, but could condense it to heart-centered presence. Susan incorporated her work and her true desire too. I love the heart in it because Susan, I know you have it. You not only work in that area, you also have it in you to project yourself as such. I love that. Personal branding. How do we go about it, right? Figure out who you are, which I think we are doing, right? Or at least if we have done it in the past, we have an opportunity to polish it. If we have never done it, we are doing it right now. If you're not willing to do it right now, you have the rest of the day, rest of the month, through the new year to work on it. Right? Because man is a social animal, right? We are all social animals. We want to be known for something. We want to know who our audience is. You can say the whole humanity is my audience, but you might have to project yourself differently to different people without compromising your authenticity. Research your desired industry and follow the experts. Learn. This alludes to continuous learning. Ask for informational interviews. Interview does not have to be, formal interview, but something that you can always pursue. Embrace networking. And I would like to call it relationship building, right? But in the career parlance, it's networking. Absolutely. Ask for recommendations, ask people. And this is more along the social media, but if any of you has watched The Social Dilemma, you will rethink the whole social media thing. And I would highly recommend you do. We watched it last night, my husband and I. I'll keep social media out, but outside of that, if we really want to pursue what we want in terms of building a strong personal brand, I say online is not your only presence. Your presence is with people, is with humanity, and you can connect with humanity one-on-one, right? Outside of social media. I want us to really pay attention to that, especially seeing as how things are going. Please watch The Social Dilemma if you haven't. Okay, the next thing I want to share a few tips where I have gathered over time, and this is work in progress, right? This is not a never-ending list, but I want to leave you with 2 remaining thoughts. 1, authentic personal brand. And I know it seems like a lot, but we could practice 1 or 2 things a day. Have a checklist. And if you think this is it, I have some more, right? But these are the things that people will remember about you. These are the things that you should care. You and I should care deeply about these. And we need to only practice them until they become natural, right? Our end goal is to naturalize all this. So I say, write these down. I'll share the presentation. It's all over the media. Ask people, what do you think makes an authentic personal brand? I put integrity first, although not everything is in the order I wanted it to be. Integrity is always first. And I put change last, just as bookends, right? I put change last, and everything else in between is all over, but it's important. Acting with integrity is non-negotiable. Not expecting expecting change is but detrimental. So I wanted to bookend all of this whole list with those two. Everything else is not in the right order, but it's supremely important. I hope some of these at least resonate with you. I hope most of us are practicing most of these on a daily basis. But that intentionality is what I want to impress upon you. We must be more conscious of them. Does this help? Is this something that you were thinking about actively? If not, will you start thinking about it today? That you are a product, whether you like it or not. If it's not for others, you are a product unto yourself. Right? Assuming positive intent by far alleviates 90% of the misery that we are feeling in this world today. Right? Conspiracy theories have just taken over. I think we could all use some positive intent at this point. All right, I want to leave you with this last thought. I wanted to define you are a product in two ways, right? We talked about the product as a personal brand. Product is also, in simple math, right? The genes that you are endowed with and the environment that you and I surround ourselves with. Correct? Whether you believe everything that you're hardwired for life, or you believe that everything is environment, or you believe it's a product, it really does not matter. But what I really want to draw attention to is that those who we surround ourselves with, the things that we do, the nurturing that we provide for ourselves, ultimately determines what makes you or me the product that we can be proud of. I'm open to questions. This is really what I wanted to share with you. And I hope this gave you a little bit more nuanced perspective and a motivation to think about it a little more intentionally. And we can take questions now. I couldn't see the timer, so I apologize if I went over.
No worries, Toastmaster Sravanthi, you are on time. Dear attendees, if there is any questions, do try to drop it in the chat window so that we can address it. Thank you for that therapeutic speech, Toastmaster Sravanthi. This has been one of the best ends of a weekend, let's say, if I may say so. And it is definitely inspiring me to do better as the week progresses. While we are getting the questions being flown in the chat window, we have also got a couple of questions. But before we go over there, I also had a personal question, if I may ask so.
Absolutely.
So from my end, the question was more in this lines that you said a bad withdrawal can definitely leave your personal brand balance in ruin, let's say. But here is the question. Many a times we would end up making mistakes, and making mistakes is a part of our growth, the part of understanding the brand and whatnot. So when does that conscious thought come in to make a choice about what actions are we doing? Is it important to me or is it important for the perception? How do we decide that my brand matters much more than the perception of it?
Absolutely. So, and I'm so glad you asked that. In Hindi, for those of my friends, neki kar kume mein dal. So you do good and you throw it in the well. So someday, right, when you need fresh water and you're thirsty, the well will always swell up for you. So that's really what that is. So a small deposit, a really small deposit, it takes 1 million small deposits, right, to make that well come up to being there for you. So to your question, Animesh, I would say when you make a mistake, when a failure happens, and I brought this slide up for a reason, the slide that I put up here. The thing that people are looking for your authentic brand without taking a withdrawal, they will not take a withdrawal, or a withdrawal won't happen one or two different ways. If you own your actions and you say you're sorry and you're learning, that is what people want to see, right? If you still have genuine respect for yourself and others. if you embrace your vulnerability and showcase the fact that you are learning and growing and you're moving forward, right? A withdrawal happens mostly, I would say, in two areas: complete lack of competence, right? And lack of integrity or trust. Two things. If you say you're competent, right? And you promise you're competent, and you go about and you fail, and sometimes mistakes happen, right? Mistakes happen. Then your withdrawal won't be as heavy if you own up to your actions, you come out clean, you deal with others with respect, you're open to feedback. Then people will see you as an authentic person. Your personal brand is not eroded or diminished when you project yourself with sincerity and authenticity, as opposed to pretending like someone who is not willing to accept blame, who is not owning up to his actions. So I hope that answers your question. People are looking at your core. When I said, your core doesn't change. The activities around you change. Sometimes you succeed, sometimes you fail. People make or take out deposits based on authenticity and trust and total competence and your own brand, and not by an occasional failure. Even if the failure is big, people are willing to give you a second chance if you come out clean, if you're listening, if you're owning up to your actions, you're open to feedback, and you're learning. Now, if that happens 13 times, then maybe not. But, right? People give you a second chance. I know I've gotten so many second chances. And I still make mistakes, only in different areas now, but maybe not in the same areas, right? But you just have to own up to it. You have to own up to it. That's what people like. Look into their eyes, say you're sorry, you own up to it, make a plan, move forward.
I think that is also very beautifully encompassed in the word accept failure, which is presented in the slide. And hello, am I audible?
And this is a compendium, right? It is never ending too. Yeah. We can hear you. And I think there is, so Lenroy asked, gratefulness.org every day. I am a glutton for information, and I am not, I feel a little restricted if I follow one blog or the other, because I almost feel like there is something else, the fear of missing out, right? There is something else somewhere that is even better than this if I only follow one blog. So I'm not as disciplined, but I read a lot. I'm not one of those people who reads a lot of books, but who gathers a lot of good information. So I cannot, and I was sharing this with you guys the other day, right? I'm not sitting down with a book, but I have a tremendous appetite for gathering good, meaningful information. So I don't follow a blog. I mean, I just happen to Google a lot of stuff. That is one. And I happen to reach out to a lot of people. I do a good portion of my learning through connection, through human connection. I reach out to people, I discuss with them out of the blue. I might talk to Lenroy. The other day, I just asked him one question. We were supposed to talk for 2 minutes. I was supposed to get a yes for him to be on a committee. And then we ended up talking for a half hour, right? That's really how I learn. I learn from people. I learn from the internet. I learn from books. But I learn a lot from people. Sometimes it's by design. Sometimes it's happenstance. But I tend to bank more on people than I do on anything else. And I do have a couple of other questions. Nitin, tips on improving social media presence in branding. Again, focus on some of these, right? Whatever your goal is. And I don't want to take names, but someone asked me the other day that how do you align your actions with what you're doing, right? Everyone's purpose is different. So I would say if your purpose is to project a consistent brand, you need to identify what your brand is. Do you want to project yourself as a ready learner, someone who is innovative and has bright ideas, someone who is seeking feedback, right? It depends on the purpose. So your social media presence is predicated on how you want yourself to be perceived. So I want you to spend some time in understanding what is your goal, right? What is your goal to be on social media? Is it to network with other people? Is it to project an authentic brand? And all I do on social media is to have those three words out there. And if you look at my social media brand, it's not as polished and shiny, but you will say that she loves Toastmasters. She seems to be spending an extraordinary amount of time doing community projects, right? And she loves gardening. And yes, she loves her girls, and she probably put some pictures of her family, right? So the LinkedIn profile is different from my Facebook profile. So you might have to manage that too. LinkedIn is more professional, right? It is career oriented probably, or your path oriented, right? Toastmasters or not. Your Facebook may be more social. But I do truly want you to understand that there is a certain dissonance, there is a certain dysmorphia that's happening because of how we are tending, or we are being programmed to think of ourselves based on what happens in social media to us. I want you to be very mindful of that. All of us who are looking at social media to develop a personal brand, if you look at some of the activity that goes on there, you will know that that's really not indicative of whether a brand is good or not. It's a lot of noise. And that this whole idea behind today's session was to extricate yourself from that noise and truly believe in who you are and focus on that. So especially those of us who are very keen on social media, manage that very carefully, and please don't be alarmed, disappointed, or too ecstatic about what's happening with you or your name on social media. So I wouldn't predicate my success factor based on what's happening or how many likes I'm getting or what people are saying on social media. It's just a way for people to, dump their emotions, dump their perspectives, and it's getting to be more disruptive than constructive. So I would say balance it out.
Which is very true, as mentioned Sravanthi. One more question which we had received was by Rahul, and this coupled with another question, let's say, how do you carry your brand when you're moving into a different organization? Plus the thought of when we are comparing ourselves to brand, and there is another entity who is also a brand, what do we do when these two brands conflict? The perception of us versus the perception that others have of us. So it's a two-parter. How do we carry ourselves when our brand moves to another organization versus when there is a brand-to-brand conflict?
So I'll answer the first part. Whether you're in one organization or another, let me speak from my experience. So I'm an IT person, right? I'm an IT person. I'm moving from one organization to another. They already know what skills I bring to the table, right? Sometimes the behaviors or the competencies that they're looking for are significantly more weighted than the skills I bring. Let me repeat that. Let's say I am a good C# programmer, but I don't know some other skills or some other programming language, and I move from one area to another. I'm a dashboarding expert or a data warehouse developer, but I don't know 2 or 3 other dashboarding tools that are in a company. I move from organization A to an organization B, whether it's in the same company or not, right? Skills can be learned. If you carry your brand as someone that is eager for knowledge, that is a good learner, that brings motivation, right? That speaks with a mindset of being a good team player, learns from others, takes feedback, and projects himself or herself as a person who is ready to be mentored and who has mentored someone else in the past, right? If you carry that brand from one organization to another, right, it will still stick with other people. It depends on how you project yourself. Okay. Now, I didn't completely understand the conflict. Let's say Sravanthi is going to apply for a job and Animesh also applies for that same job. Is that the conflict we are talking about?
Sravanthi, the conflict is more in the direction, let's say you are a brand and I am a brand, and if brands become rivals, so how
Okay.
the personality traits or the brand that we're trying to, how do we take a step
So
back or step forward in that direction?
step back or step forward. So let's say I have defined myself, right? So I have defined what value, and I bring this slide up for a reason too, right? What do I stand for,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What makes me stand out? And what makes me compelling? Sometimes that differentiator and the marketability. What makes me compelling, right? Is it just my skills? Is it just my competencies? Or is it something else, that X factor that I bring to the table? The X factor
Yeah.
that you cannot miss about some people, the X factor you cannot miss about me is my positivity. I'm like, throw a book at me. And if I don't hit the ground running on Monday, we'll talk, right? And I'm not afraid to say that because it is learned. A skill can be learned. What I bring to the table is more than that skill. I know one
Yeah.
programming language, I know three others. Can I not learn three more?
Yeah.
Absolutely, right? Or if you're in another area, right? For Susan, right? If she has worked in a heart-centric area in the medical field, right? She has handled patients who have heart disease and who are in critical care. Could she not learn to manage another department? Could she not learn? But the care and feeding, the empathy that she shows, the positivity she showcases, right? The open mindedness that she brings to the table, her bedside manner, her belief in diversity and inclusion, and treating people with respect, that might someday play and be more important than the specific skill that she brings to the table. So when two brands may be in conflict, you can only control your brand. I say go with your brand, stick to your brand, but be aware that other brands might be more compelling. And think, dig deep and think what can make you more. But you cannot fake it. Sometimes to be compelling takes time. It takes time. I think we are in a hurry to fake it sometimes, and we fall through the cracks. We get the job and then we fail on the job because we faked it. It doesn't help. It does not help. So take the time to build your brand, make yourself solid, and put yourself out there and say, I'm growing, right? People will be okay with that. People are okay with that.
Thanks, Sravanthi. I hope that answers the question. This is one more compelling question that we
Sure.
received. What is the most effective way to sell your product, service, or brand without coming off as needy or desperate?
Okay.
I'd repeat, what is the most effective way to sell your product or brand without coming off as needy or desperate? Amol had posted the question.
I have this book here. I read page to, beginning to end. It's called You Are a Brand. It's by Catherine Caputa. And this is one of the books that I read. In the foreword, I think it's by Al Rice, right? In the foreword, Al says, and I'll read it out to you, and I'm doing this for a reason. I'm glad you asked. Al says, to be successful, you need to create positive attitudes in the minds of other people. You can't make yourself successful. Only other people can make you successful, right? You can make yourself happy. Other people make yourself successful, and that's where the branding comes, right? And to going back to your question, I say, listen to what the other person is seeking. It's all in the value. What is the value that the other person, your audience, as Toastmasters say, right? What does your audience care about? I can talk about gardening for 15 days, non-stop, right? I don't even need a water break. But my audience doesn't care. I'll have no one in the room. So what does your audience care? So think about when you are marketing yourself or when you're bringing yourself to the table, think about it from their perspective. If your brand is not valuable to the person who is willing to pay for it, right? Whether it's the experience, the story, the hand holding, whatever that might be, or the money, then it behooves you to think about it from their perspective, not from what you bring. You bring what you bring. But if it does not match, so take your time, go to their side of the fence and think from their perspective. what is it truly that they, and that's where our research comes in. That's where our understanding of the audience comes in. That's where our understanding of the buyer and the payer comes in, right? So if they are not getting what they need, then you're surely in need of rethinking your strategy, rethinking not your brand necessarily, but how you pitch it, right? Your brand doesn't change, you're working on it, but how you approach your branding may change. Does that help?
Yeah,
Okay.
that definitely answered the question. With that, we do come to our end of our question and answer segment. Learning from you, Toastmaster Sravanthi, let me introduce another brand to you, Toastmaster Nagappan. He is the brand that we are going to meet next. He has been in Toastmasters for last 8 years, serving as a club president and area director. Currently working for Japanese IT customers for the last 20 years. An avid public speaker, personal finance, and he loves participating in long runs. He's also currently serving as the finance manager in District 98 Toastmasters. With that, let me introduce the next brand on stage, Toastmaster Nagappan. Over to you.
Thanks, Animesh, for the wonderful introduction. Thanks for that. And I would like to thank Sravanthi Vallampati for taking time and for giving this special and wonderful session on personal branding. And I was fully enjoyed, or maybe I was just going through the session, and she has given a lot of valuable inputs. And I am sure, actually, I come from the understanding that we should not blow your own trumpet. So when she said we should do a personal branding, so I was thinking, what is she telling? So then I could understand that there's so many aspects which will help us to grow further. And I could see that a lot of people who were thoroughly participating with so many chats, messages, and whenever she was asking, a lot of people were doing it, and I am sure everyone liked it, and this will be useful for all of us. I would like to thank once again Sravanthi for taking time and for giving this wonderful session, and this will be really useful for us. Thanks for that. Also, I would like to thank everyone whoever has participated here. I could see a lot of people who have come not only from India, from US and different time zones. And thanks for all of you to join in this Beyond Toastmasters session. So this is an initiative from District 98. And thanks for taking time and joining this. And I hope this was useful for all of you also. Thanks. I would like to thank others because this session was possible only with a lot of our team who has put down a lot of hard work in preparing this session. I would like to take this time to appreciate them. So I would like to share the slide. Thanks. So the Zoom masters, normally I think that currently because we are doing all these sessions nowadays on online, so the role of Zoom masters are important because they set up the meeting and they control and conduct the everything, and even allowing the people to join the meeting and making everyone mute and unmute, spotlight. So everything is done by the Zoom masters team. I would like to thank Toastmaster Harald, Toastmaster Sri Lalita, and also timer. I think timing is important. Any Toastmasters meeting, I think we learn the timing. I'd like to thank Toastmaster Raju for being the wonderful timer for this. Thanks for everyone. I think more than all the participants also have taken time in participating. Thanks. I would like to thank once again Toastmaster Sravanthi and pass it on to Area Director Vanitha for the next part.
Thank you, Toastmaster Nagappan, our district manager, our district finance manager, and our keynote speaker for today, Sravanthi DTM, for this thought-provoking keynote address. As we pull the curtains down today for this meeting, I have some great takeaways and plan of action. That's for sure. And I'm sure that's the plan of action others in this room also have. I read this quote somewhere that said, "You haven't come this far, only to come this far." And that is the essence of the entire keynote address that we heard today. To make this event more memorable, I'd request our Zoom master to capture all the captivating smiles that are there in this room. Can I request our Zoom master to do us the honors, please?
Could everyone switch on their videos, please? Let's see some smiles. Sriya, I think your video is not on. Just give me a second. There are multiple screens.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's the first screen. Let's get on to the next one. Awesome, it's done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zoom Master Toastmaster Harold. Thank you once again. Once again, thanks to everyone who has joined in today from across the globe for this particular address. Look forward to meeting you all once again in episode 8. Until then, please stay safe, take care, and have a good time. With this, we close this meeting.
Thank you, Vanitha. I mean, members can stay back and ask where is to keynote
I'll
speak.
stay. Yeah,
I
can stay. No problem.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
I would say the room is open for fellowship now.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alpha, can you please stop the FB? Okay, it stopped. Yeah.
Yeah, it's already stopped.
Thank you, Alpha.